Hey, what's going on, guys? Chad here with Greenlight Shooting, and welcome to this new video. So today we're talking about the Mantis X Firearms training system. Now, I did a video on this, I want to say it was like a couple years ago, but since then they have created a lot of new updates, added a lot of new features, and they sent me out a new one to test out, and I thought that it definitely warranted a new video. So let's dive in. First up, I want to talk about just what the Mantis X is if you're not familiar with it, how it works, what it's supposed to do, that kind of stuff. And then we'll talk a little bit about my experience with it, pros and cons, and then a summary. So let's dive in. Now, if you're not familiar with the Mantis X, it is essentially just this guy right here. Now, this is just a sensor which hooks on to the Picatinny rail of like a rifle or a handgun, and then it gives you feedback based on the motion. Now, this sensor hooks up via Bluetooth to a mobile app, and that app is how you actually read the feedback you're getting. So, for instance, say you're pulling the trigger a little bit to the left when you fire. This is going to feel that left movement, and it's going to tell you on the app, hey, maybe you don't have enough trigger finger on the trigger, try adjusting it this way and see how that works. So it's a pretty cool system. It's designed to give you feedback immediately and allow you to make those changes on the spot and then visually see your shots improving as well as obviously on the target. So to briefly touch on what you get when you order this thing, it comes in nice packaging like this, gives you a bunch of good information on the box, and then it comes with a nice little carrying pouch. Now inside this carrying pouch, you'll find the sensor itself, an extra screw, a decal here with the Mantis X logo, and then it also comes with, I think this is a micro USB they call it, a charging cable basically. And that's how it's that simple. Just plug this thing in, charge it up, and then download the Mantis X app onto your phone. Mounting it is super simple. As I mentioned, it just hooks onto any rail. So just slide this onto any rail, slide the screw through, and then tighten it down. Now, I would definitely recommend having a screwdriver with you. That's not something I had, so I had to improvise. But yeah, having a screwdriver is going to make this much more simple. Once the sensor is all installed, make sure you've got the app open on your phone. Hit this little button on the bottom of the sensor, and then within the app, just hit connect. It should find it almost immediately. Make sure you fill in the details, whether you're shooting rifle or handgun, whether it's right or left-handed, and whether you have this forward mounted or backwards mounted. I have noticed that depending on the layout of your gun, if it's got a really, really small rail, sometimes you'll have to go backwards mounted. I think that's why they offer that option. Now in the rifle setup, they've just got sort of an open training system. So basically, once you're ready, you hit start and then fire away. And each shot you fire, it'll come up with a score based out of 100 on how consistent and accurate your trigger pull was. And then if you're jerking the trigger or something like that, it'll tell you, that feedback, and you can see it right away. It'll list them out by shot, so you can see the different scores per shot. And I think there's 5 different screens of feedback. To be honest, I don't know how to decipher all this feedback just yet, but luckily Mantis X does have a lot of information online, so I just got to dive deeper into this info. But the basic stuff is definitely there. It's telling you what you're doing with your trigger and all that stuff. It's telling you where each shot's sort of landing on the target. There's one screen on the end which was really interesting. It was basically just monitoring the entire movement of your gun. So you can see it right here, almost like painting out in a circle what I'm doing. And then as soon as I get ready and I sit down to fire, it sort of holds still, and then you can see what my trigger finger actually does. So that's a really, really interesting. I couldn't figure out how to play that back, but yeah, I don't know, there may be a way. So that's the majority of what's going on in the rifle. Now, over on handgun is where they've made a lot of the updates. So there is still that open training option, but there's a lot more drills and stuff built in that you can try out as well. So in addition to open training, there's like the Mantis X Benchmark, which I did here. Now this just tells you to shoot 10 rounds, as slowly as you need, try and get as accurate as possible. And then it gives you an overall score. You can break it down, individually based on the shots and stuff like that, and just kind of rank your score against others, rank your score against yourself, and see how you're improving over time. Now there's a bunch of different options as well, like a timed version of that benchmark. There are like some reload drills. I tried this one, which I thought was pretty interesting. It was an in-battery reload drill. So basically I have my slide forward, nothing in the chamber, and as soon as the app beeps, you drop your mag, load a loaded mag, rack the slide, and fire as quickly and accurately as possible. And it's cool because it's using that beep as a start timer, it's using the sound of your shot as an end timer, and then it's giving you kind of like your accuracy as well as your time. And yeah, it's really cool feedback. I love the fact that they've implemented these new drills. I think it was a no-brainer, and I think it adds a lot of value to the app. There's another drill which I really enjoyed. So the app beeps, and when it beeps, you're supposed to draw your gun and fire as quickly as possible, just one shot, and then it'll take a minute, and then it'll beep again, and you do that again. But if you're practicing drawing from a concealed holster or something like that, as soon as it beeps, you draw, shoot, and it's giving you the start and the end time, how long it took you to draw, as well as your accuracy. Because when you're drawing from a holster, you're a lot less accurate than when you're just set up on a bullseye, you know what I mean? So it's cool that it offers those different training regimens as well. One more update the app has made is it allows groups. Like you can now connect, I think, online with other people and compare your scores. You can train, over the internet with each other, kind of compare each other's scores and compete. And I thought that was super cool. Adds a little bit of a competitive nature to the app. One last feature about it that I love is it facilitates dry fire practice. Sometimes we can't make it out to the range. Sometimes we can't afford live ammo at the range. So, dry fire is an important part of anyone's shooting regimen. And I love how this gives you the option to practice more with dry firing. Now, how it works is you just switch it over in the app from live fire to dry fire, and then you can really understand what you're doing with the trigger without the fear of recoil. This is fantastic for complete beginners as well as advanced shooters alike. Okay, so now that you understand a little bit more about the Mantis X and what it is and how it works, let's talk a little bit about my experience. So I took this up to the range, as I mentioned. I tried it out with rifle and with handgun, and with rifle, I'll be honest, the feedback didn't tell me a whole lot. Now, I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that, I was shooting what was essentially a bench gun. I was on a bipod, had a very high-end trigger in there, so the scores were consistently like 98, 99, and they weren't giving me any feedback other than great shot. I think some of the other screens in the feedback might tell me more. As I mentioned, I just don't know how to decipher those yet, so it's going to take me a little time with the app to figure that out. But yeah, overall, I didn't learn a whole lot from the rifle side of things, at least with that setup. Maybe if I was standing up, moving around with something smaller. However, that being said, on the handgun side, I definitely got a lot of feedback from it. Doing those different benchmark drills and stuff like that. You see your score, and then when you do something incorrect, right? Like you're dipping or you're pulling up or something like that, it'll show you on the screen, hey, I think this one went high and right, and if you click it, it'll tell you what you did wrong, like what caused it to go high and right. And then once you finish shooting and you hit stop, it'll give you an overall average score as well as the overall issue that you were having. So you can correct that overarching issue as well as dive into each individual shot if you're curious on hey, that stray that went way over there, what was I doing? And then I think this screen shows you sort of what you're doing with your trigger finger. I think that yellow line says that maybe I was pulling my trigger finger more than usual or something like that. There's only two issues that I have with this Mantis X, and they're not really issues, they're just things that I think they could improve upon. So number one is the mounting of this. As I mentioned, you need a screwdriver, you have to unscrew this, slide it onto your Picatinny, slide it. Don't try and clasp it on one side and hook it over the other. That's what I was trying at first. Remove the screw entirely, slide it onto your gun, slide the screw through, and tighten it down. But you need that screwdriver. And I think eventually on the next iterations, if they could make this toolless, that'd be huge. Like for instance, with the Olight lights that I have, it's just a clasp. Like you throw this on your Picatinny, you clasp it down, and it's stuck. When you're ready to take it off, undo that clasp, and it comes right off. That would allow you to switch guns and switch, from handgun to rifle, whatever, much quicker and easier. The other issue I was having is the Bluetooth connectivity didn't have a super far range. So for instance, when I was shooting this handgun, I had the app set up here, and then I was planning on shooting, honestly not that far, maybe like 5 to 7 yards away, so that the camera could see both the app and me shooting. But at that distance, the app kept losing connectivity. It would just say connection lost over and over again, and it'd come back up, and I'd connect for a second, and then it would lose it again. So I'm not sure what the range is, but as soon as I came back, and so I was right near the app, it worked again. So I'm thinking that the range isn't that far, but as long as you've got it nearby, if it's just you in a shooting stall or something with your phone here, you're not gonna have any issues. I don't know if the distance thing is really a limiting factor or not. Maybe it just was for me where I was trying to film the whole thing. But yeah, I guess those were the cons. Overall on pros, it's a fantastic little thing. I'm really happy with this device. It gave me a lot of good feedback. I love how just so portable it is. It holds a charge for a very, very long time. I do like, even though you have to have a screwdriver or whatever, it's just a screwdriver. It's not that big of a deal. I like how it integrates directly with an app. I think it's super smart, and overall, I think it's a really cool little system. So let's talk about price. This thing is priced at $150. Now that's a little pricier than most of the things I review on this channel, but I have to say I don't think that's overpriced for this. You know, it's a sophisticated piece of technology. It hooks up to your phone. This thing's reading everything you're doing with a gun and transmitting it visually and giving you immediate feedback. I think it's worth every penny if you're serious about, you know, improving your shooting. I feel like I'm rambling. This thing is $150. There is a 45-day, no questions asked, like a warranty refund. If you don't like it after using it for, you know, a month and a half, send it back. And I think that shows how much confidence they have in their product. And yeah, this is exactly the kind of product I want to stand behind. It's innovative, it's smart, it's pushing the industry forward, and yeah, it's awesome. So anyways, I am an affiliate partner with these guys, so if you're interested in picking one up, please use the link in the video description below. It won't cost you any extra, and I get a little bit of commission back from it. So this is a piece of kit that's going to stay with me at the range at all times. I'm going to use it most of the time while I'm at the range, and I'm excited to learn more about it and learn more about that feedback that it's given me, and hopefully become a better shooter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was long, it was rambly, but I feel like there was a lot of good information about it. I really enjoyed this thing. So if you enjoyed it as well, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, share, all that good stuff. Leave me a comment down in the description below. Have you used this thing? What are your thoughts on it? And yeah, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Green Light Shooting.